Hey YouTube, what's up? Today I want to talk to you about all these numbers you're looking at on here and building coils for your rebuildables. I've been going through hell trying to find what gauge wire comes out to what ohms, and I found a video on YouTube by Mark II, Mark double I, which explains that it's not the amount of wraps and all that determines your ohms. It's the length of the wire. Length matters. So there you go. Size matters, especially when it comes to building a coil. So today I did a bunch of research of different types of wire. Here, let me move this down. And I've been trying to determine how to get the right ohms for the device I'm using. I just got this device. It's a Top Tank Mini and a iStick temperature control, 40 watt. Now it comes with a pre-installed nickel coil. I don't know, it's not focusing. But the pre-installed coil is 0.24 ohms. And I bought some Ni200 at 24 gauge, and to try and build a coil for the rebuildable in this tank. Actually, I was trying it in this tank, my old setup, iStick 30, the Kenner sub tank. After doing some research, I figured this all out. How to get the right ohms. It's all math, and it's all knowing how many ohms per foot your wire is, the resistance. Every wire, when you buy it, it's usually listed in the description somewhere how many ohms per foot the wire is rated at. So I made this little chart, and I found that nickel wire, the wire I bought, which was wrong for what I'm doing, I bought 24 gauge, which is 0.18 ohms per foot. So you divide that by 12. So for every inch of 0.24 Ni200 wire, you're going to get 0.015 ohms. Now I also was playing around today with measurements and stuff, and I found that if you're wrapping a coil on a 3mm bit, one wrap equals half an inch. Okay? So, and I found that in the sub tank rebuildable deck, for me, 6 wraps is about where I find that the coil fits in there just right. And so using these calculations, I've found out that 6 wraps equals 3 inches. Okay, so now based on that information, if you build a 6 wrap coil on a 3mm bit, what ohms is it going to come out to be? Well, I did the calculations over here for the 3 types of, well, actually I got 4 wires here, because nickel comes in annealed and tempered. The annealed is a soft variety, tempered is hard. It's more like Canthal. But now see, a 6 wrap coil at 24 gauge nickel comes to 0.045 ohms. So I bought the wrong wire. I should have probably got 32 gauge, because my 6 wrap coil will come out to 0.23, which is pretty close to what the pre-built coil in the top tank. This is running at 0.25. So anyway, if you use this chart and you're making your coils on a 3mm bit, you can know that based on the gauge of wire you buy and what type of wire you buy. I got Canthal A1 here, and I got stainless steel down here. Sorry I don't have titanium. I didn't look it up because my device doesn't support titanium. But just remember, when you're buying wire to build coils, it should tell you what the ohms per foot are. And then you divide that by 12, that'll tell you what the ohms per inch are, which I got listed out over here. And you multiply that by the number of inches of your coil. I don't know if you're following this. And I found that at 3mm, one wrap around a 3mm bit is a half an inch. So I just did basically 3 inches is about 6 wraps on a 3mm bit. And these are the ohms you'll get when doing 6 wraps at 3mm with these various gauges and various types of wire. So there you have it. I mean, thank you to Mark the Second, Mark Double I, or whatever on YouTube. His video showed me that I mean, technically yes, the number of wraps matters, but ultimately it's the length of the wire in your coil that's going to determine what the ohms are going to be. So when you're building a coil, you do some simple math and you'll know what it's going to be. You can bang them out. You can like make a bunch of spares if you want. So what I'm finding is if I want to get a coil close to the pre-built one in nickel, I need to get rid of the 24 gauge wire. I need to not use that. I need to get 32 gauge, because 3 inches will come out to about the same ohms as the pre-built. And of course, the whole reason to make your own coils is you could save a lot of money because wire's cheap. But anyway, now I know there are some devices out there that let you do temp control with the stainless steel wire, and here's all the ohm readings for stainless steel. Now if you want to get super precise, you can do these calculations down to the millimeter and measure out your wire before you wrap your coil, and you'll get the exact ohms you're looking for. But I'm making this video just as a guide to help people know what gauge wire to buy. There's so many gauges of wire, and there's so many different types of wire. And there's so many videos where it's like, oh, do this many wraps and you'll be fine and it'll come out to this many ohms. Well, it's already set. The math's already there. If you know the ohms per foot of your wire, you can do some calculations on a calculator, and you'll know the exact length of the wire needed to produce the target ohms you're looking for. So there you have it. I hope this helps people. Again, I made this little chart. I'll go over it one more time. This column over here is the ohms you're going to get if you make a coil with 6 wraps around a 3mm bit. So with nickel, you can see the resistance is very low. Very low. So if you're going to use 24 gauge nickel, make sure you have a device that can fire at really low ohms. Now you can see down here with Canthal, if you want a 0.5 ohm coil with just 6 wraps at 3mm, you're going to need 24 gauge. Stainless steel, it's a little bit in between nickel and Canthal, where 28 gauge at 6 wraps around 3mm is going to give you about 0.7 ohms. But ultimately, it depends on your device, what you're using, what you like to vape at. But just remember to make sure when you're buying wire that you know what the ohms per foot are, and based off that information you can calculate it down to how many ohms per inch, and then make your coils based on that. Because, you know, based on what I found today, 1 wrap's a half an inch on 3mm, so 4 inches of wire is 8 wraps. Now if you like to make a coil that's like 12 wraps, that's 5 inches. So if you were doing like a 5-inch wrap, you would multiply the ohms per inch by 5, and then that would let you know what ohms you're going to get. You don't have to build the whole thing and then throw it on the deck and go, oh, that's what my ohms are. I mean, I could be wrong, the math could be off, but I'm pretty certain that you're going to be in the target range here of what I've gotten sketched out here, because it's science, you know, it's predetermined what the resistance is and all the wire out that's for sale out there. It's all governed and everything. So anyway, have fun building coils, and hopefully with this you'll be able to choose a wire in the right gauge and help you get at the ohms you want to vape at. Thanks.